Hi guys, today I'm going to do a double rant. It's going to be on December 7th, 2013 and November 18th, 2016. December 7th, 2013, holy cow, this day sucked. Want to know the reason why? Was because I had my first seizure. It was actually a focal seizure. And, well, I was going to go to the bathroom, but then the next thing I know is I thought I had to throw up, but then I didn't. So then the next thing I do know is I fell on the floor and I couldn't get up. And that's all I remember. And my parents telling me, Cassie, you had a focal seizure. And I'm like, I had a what? Then they said it again because I couldn't really recall what they said. And they said it again, they said, Cassie, you had a seizure. And I was like, a seizure? But how? And then they said, well, we were trying to wake you up, but you wouldn't wake up. And we had to call 911. And they had to shock you. And I'm like, shock me? And they're like, yeah. They had to shock you. Like, they had to use those pads to, like restart someone's heart. So they had to do that twice. So they said, once they got your heart back, and then I went back into cardiac arrest. So they had to shock me again. And I stood in the hospital for maybe about 5 days. Let's see, it was December 7th. Let's see if I'm saying this right. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. No, I think it was maybe just one day. I think that's all I can remember. So it was one day. No, actually 2 days, I think. I don't know. Anyways, next, and then after all that, I was fine to go home. So this is the end of the second rant. First rant, sorry. The second rant is November 18th, 2016. November 18th, 2016. Holy cow, this day sucked. This day, I had my second seizure. So what happened with the second seizure was that, I was in my brother's room. I was on my iPad. And then I felt my hands shaking. I believe I can recall sweating, but I'm not sure. And then the next thing I know, I passed out. Sorry for the huge clap, but So I passed out. And I don't recall anything after that. But what I do recall is a couple of things. One is my brother shaking me and asking me if I'm okay. Like, I believe twice. Yeah. So I remember him shaking me twice, asking me if I was okay, but he didn't get no response. So he called my grandma, and then I believe this was when our mom was in the. I believe this was when our mom was in the shower. Yeah. So then my grandma knocked on the door to the shower and then called my mom. And then my mom called 911. So then they took me to the hospital, and then, well, actually, before they took me to the hospital, they had to restart my heart, so they had to shock me once, and then I guess when they put me in the ambulance, I guess my heart stopped, and I guess they had to shock me again. Yes, they had to shock me a second time. And then the next thing I recall is me opening my eyes, and I'm like, what happened? And I remember seeing my pastor there. My pastor Josiah Silva and his wife, Pastor Marie Silva. I remember seeing them there, and I'm like, what just happened? And then my parents told me, they said, Cassie, you had a seizure. And I'm like, a seizure? And they're like, yes. And then, and I know I could hear when I'm asleep. So my parents gave me like a little notepad, and I'm like, what's this? And then they said, well, this is what you wrote when you asked the nurse, when the nurse asked you, are you hurting? So I wrote something down. I know I'm not a very good speller without my eyes opening. So I kind of wrote something that was a really weird thing. They're like, and I kind of read it, and I'm like, what in the heck did I write? Where the heck did I write? And my parents were like, it looks like you wrote my foot, or something. I wrote something completely unreadable. Oh my gosh. But this is when I had my eyes closed. I couldn't really see. So in other good news, I stayed in the hospital from November 18th. So it was November 18th, 19th. So I only stood there for 2 days. Well, actually, they moved me from the ER to Kaiser. And I asked, because it was my second seizure, I asked if they could put the siren on. And they're like, do you want us to? And I'm like, no. Because, like I said, I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear no woo, woo, like no sirens or anything because I was totally passed out in my second seizure and first one. So I didn't really hear nothing. So that's why I asked if they could put the siren on. And they were like, do you want us to? And I'm like, no. And then once we got to Kaiser, they took me off the ambulance, and they told me, okay, there's gonna be a little step. So even though I know I was strapped in, but I could still feel the gurney going down. So they brought me to Kaiser, and then that's all I remember. I remember waking up in a hospital bed. I think. I don't know because I don't know because I was maybe like, well, I don't know. I don't want to die. And anyways, November 18th, 2016, and December 7th, 2013. These days sucked. To whoever likes these days, I respect your opinion. But do you know who hates these days? Me. And I don't know who dislikes these days. February 9th, 2018 is much more better than December 7th, 2013 and November 18th, 2016. Note, February 9th, 2018 was the day that I turned 17. And February 9th of this year rocks. Note, this was the day that I turned 18. So, if any of you guys like these other days that I said, I respect your opinion. But if you dislike these days, I also respect your opinion on that. So this will be the end of my November. So this will be the end of my December 7th, 2016 and November 18th, 2013 salute. Rant. End of rant. Bye, guys.